Suppose you are God. Suppose you have all time, all eternity, and all power at your disposal. What would you do? I believe you'd say to yourself after a while, man, get lost. It's like asking another question. Supposing you were given the power to dream any dream you wanted to dream every night. Naturally, you could dream any span of time. You could dream 75 years of time in one night, 100 years of time in one night, 1,000 years of time in one night. And it could be anything you wanted. You make up your mind before you went to sleep, tonight I'm going to dream of so-and-so. Well, naturally, you would start out by fulfilling all your wishes. You would have all the pleasures you could imagine, the most marvelous meals, the most entrancing love affairs, the most romantic journeys. You could listen to music such as no mortal has heard and see landscapes beyond our wildest dreams. And for several nights, maybe for a whole month of nights, you would go on that way, having a wonderful time. But then after a while, you'd begin to think, well, I've seen quite a bit. Let's spice it up. Let's have a little adventure. And therefore, you would dream of yourself being threatened by all sorts of dangers. You would rescue princesses from dragons. You would perhaps engage in notable battles. You would be a hero. And then, as time went on, you would dare yourself to do more and more outrageous things. And at some point in the game, you would say, tonight, I am going to dream in such a way that I don't know that I'm dreaming. So that you would take the experience of the dream for complete reality. And what a shock when you woke up. And you really scare yourself. And then, on successive nights, you might dare yourself to experience the most extraordinary things just for the contrast when you woke up. You could, for example, dream yourself in situations of extreme poverty, disease, agony. You could, as it were, work on the vibration of suffering to its most intense point, and then suddenly, whoop, wake up and find it was after all nothing but a dream and everything perfectly okay. And you would say, wow, man, that was a gas. Well, how do you know that that's not what you're doing already? You, sitting there with all your problems, with all your whole complicated life situation, listening to me, it may just be the very dream you decided to get into. If you like it, crazy. If you don't like it, what fun it'll be when you wake up.
whispers of another man. I ask, is she well? She scoffs and calls me a faggot. I just nod and pretend like I'm the dominant one. I can't relate to being called an ugly piece of flesh. Have you ever had a morning where you want to wake and your consciousness just drifts down the valleys of your brain, screaming, I'm beautiful, I'm beautiful, description of your flesh, rotten and bloody just to get a taste. I learned to fall in love with constant humiliation. It's not me that deserves the pain, it's my mind that only listens to Queen Bitch. You've been bad every night of the summer, catching feelings to nobody but her. Constant gossiping, flowing like a river, but I'm all alone at home, thinking I'm beautiful, I'm beautiful. I've forgotten how to dance, I feel the weight under my hands. I wish I could be free of fear and regret. And the sun may come and I feel it all to the nth degree of my control, but the end is drawing close to me. And I'd stay at home and fiddle with my feet, or keep my mind occupied for several weeks, and race to the end of the highway for somebody who's waiting for me. Oh, my lover's heart is waiting for me. Oh, my victim's heart is waiting for me. Memory serves, there's a dark hole lying in the ground on Yorkshire's coast. No one can ever say it's true. You are the sunlight of my life, speaking from the heart, it's true. There's no one else but you. Pardon my French, but there's nothing I can do. And I'll stay at home and fiddle with my feet, or keep my mind occupied for several weeks, and race to the end of the highway for somebody who's waiting for me. Oh, my lover's heart is waiting for me. Oh, my victim's heart is waiting for me.
It must feel good to travel to important places and meet a lot of important people.
Well, not exactly. I feel cut off from the rest of the world. When I accepted this promotion as Executive Secretary of Advertising, I thought it was going to be a major step upward for me. Mm-hmm. Now I'm not sure why I accepted this promotion. I mean, they're obviously much too dim to realize that my suggestions are the first glimmer of genius this company has seen in years. On Tuesday, I pointed out to the board that a few minor changes in the new campaign could easily send sales soaring. Could they comprehend that? No. I mean, did they not realize that it was my vitality and my immaculate organizing abilities that pushed Estelle's to the top of the market? I think they're just too jealous to accept my ideas. Any other company would have absorbed them. They passed right over them.
How does that leave you feeling?
It was like my last date, unfortunately.
I don't understand. What do you mean it was like your last date?
Well, I went out with Victor Hudson. That's Franklin Hudson's son.
Oh, yes, I've heard of him.
Everyone has. Aren't they right? I'm trying to win over the Hudson's account. Do you always look so stone-faced? Well, anyway, we were going dancing at La Scala. I've just bought a Saint Michel gown, sequin from neck to toe. Victor showed up in a 200% polyester sports jacket.
200%?
It was double knit, and of course everybody stared at us. And he never even commented about it.
About
how stunning I looked. Oh well, we don't need their account anyway. What we really need is, would we be able to switch next week's appointment from Tuesday to Thursday? The Addisons are having a cocktail party aboard the Princess Star.
Oh, a cocktail party?
It's not just a cocktail party. The Addisons could be our biggest clients, and it would be personally affronted if I didn't attend.
It does seem like it's very important to you. When you're talking about how at work it seems like your efforts go unnoticed.
What about the cocktail party?
How would you feel if we didn't change the appointment?
That's ridiculous. Are you refusing to change?
No, I said what if.
Look, I don't see what difference Tuesday or Thursday makes, and this is something very important.
It sounds like you feel that at work, that on dates, here with me now, that no one grasps what's important to you.
Very few people could grasp what's important to me. You couldn't have anything that important.
What are you remembering?
Oh, just back in college, when I tried to become a trident.
Go on.
I tried so hard to be like one of those girls with money. It was so unfair. They were so rich. I wasn't. They didn't want me.
What do you feel as you remember back on that?
All that mattered were clothes and cars. They were so screwed up. No brains. No style. I showed them that. I was featured in the spring fashion section of the school paper my senior year.
Oh, so you were recognized.
So what?
Save this nest. Send it up to tiny bugs. Don't know more, shall I tolerate the ignorance of a nest of foolish, small and insignificant roaches? For I am a butterfly, and the butterfly knows best.
Homeless.
Hello, listeners.